cultural area of the classroom encompasses geography, science, and history. If we take a look at the beginnings of geography, we start with the whole world. The globe has land, water, and we look and see how much water there is in the world, and air. And then we sort pictures for land, water, and air. There are other activities that the children can do. They can sort transportation, they can sort animals. How do they move about? Mostly by air, by land, or by water. And they take a look at that. In every classroom, there are the puzzle maps. We begin with the world map, and even 3-year-olds do this as a puzzle to understand the spatial relationship between the continents. We learn the names of the continents, placing each piece on a control chart. Children frequently will trace the continent they are learning. They will punch it, they will cut it. Sometimes they will trace it on a large piece of paper and paint it. Young children like to learn which animal is associated with each continent. Everyone knows that the giraffe belongs in Africa and the deer belongs in North America. There are continent books for every map. This one is for Africa. The children can look at them, they ask questions, and often the older children will write books about them. They will draw the pictures and write something about what they know about the animals. The other maps in the classroom are all of the continents. We have Australia, Europe, Asia, South America, North America. We also have a specific one for the United States. The United States can be done as a whole, or it can be done in regions. This is the Midwest region, and the children would learn our state of Illinois and what we can find there, and what the neighboring states are called. There are pictures that go with that. We even have, the older children even play games where if I am traveling by car and I am going from California to Florida, what states would I travel through? So this area lends itself to lots of extended type of work, and the older children especially like that. Montessori was very, very emphatic on having all hands-on materials as much as possible in the classroom. The children can study landforms by using this particular material. This is island and lake. They take a small pitcher with water, pour it into the compartments. They can use their fingers to go around, to go on top. An island is land with water all around it, and they can actually feel what we're talking about. A lake is water with land all around it. We have 3-part cards that they can draw pictures and learn how to spell the words. But what is very cool is they can take small bowls and clay, and they can create their own island and lake. We also have things like cape and bay, isthmus and strait, so they actually understand what a landform is. One other thing that they do in this area that all of the children really enjoy is they begin to study habitats. The desert, the grasslands. They look at books and they draw pictures of animals or plants that belong in that. When the children do the rainforest, they will draw huge trees and vines hanging down. And we begin to learn what animals live in the canopy, what animals live on the ground. And they will draw them, and then they slowly use the movable alphabet to begin to label their work. And the older children actually write sentences. I have one child who is in the process of creating a book for every single habitat. And she writes about 6 pages of what you will find in that particular habitat, and she illustrates it. History for the young child is learned through storytelling. They love to hear stories of when adults were young. What did they used to do? They love to understand how different people celebrate the holidays, what goes on with that. So when the holidays come up, we cook different foods, we do different craft projects, we talk about ahead of time how many days will it be until Halloween, how many days will it be until Thanksgiving, so they get a sense of time. On an everyday level, the children talk about what will happen today, yesterday, and tomorrow. You may notice that very young children will tell you, yesterday I'm going to go to the zoo. So this whole concept of time takes a while to understand. We do a lot of work with the seasons of the year, the days of the week. We actually have songs that we sing that help them learn it. So we take a look. This is a particular work that older children use to sequence the months of the year, to take a look at what months belong in what seasons. Young children can actually create tiny trees to show them the changes that we see during the different seasons. They can sort pictures to see what's happening. It's been very interesting lately because in the fall, the weather is very changeable, and sometimes they look at me and they say, but you told us it was fall, and here we are in our shorts again. So this is something they have to learn to understand. Reading a calendar may be a group activity in the classroom where the class takes a look at what day of the week is it, what is the date. In some classrooms, one child may take a turn, and for the whole month, they will take a look at what day it is, go look and see what the weather is, and put it and be responsible for taking care of that. A specific work we have in the classroom is to sequence a calendar. It is sequencing the numbers, but they have to understand that there are spaces that are left open and that all months of the year do not have the same number of days. Older children will learn how to read it more extensively. For example, what is the date of the 4th Tuesday of this month? How many days will I have to wait before I go to the dentist on the 8th? So they will answer questions and learn how to read it. Clock reading has become somewhat more difficult because we all have digital clocks. We use regular clocks with hands on them and learn to read the time. We start with the hour and then we move on to the half hour. Some children in kindergarten can read the minutes, but usually we do just hour and half hour. Again, the understanding of time comes from our daily conversations. The young child wants to know, when is mommy coming? Mommy is coming after we eat lunch and you take a nap and we play in the playground. A story I like to tell is my older daughter used to tell my granddaughter, in 2 sleeps, we will go to Grandma's house. And she knew how to count 2 days until she would come visit me. Science in the primary classroom is a very open-ended curriculum. In a Montessori classroom, we have the ability to follow the child's interest and provide individual support. So we can follow whatever it is that they're very interested in at the time and provide activities and additional resources. For the young child, science is all about observation. We have a lot of opportunities for children to observe nature and phenomena that happens in the classroom. When we're walking to the playgrounds or at the playgrounds, they will collect sticks, ask about it. We will talk about the bark. They will collect insects, grasshoppers, spiders. They love spiders. And this offers them an opportunity to bring us these things. We can take a look at them together. They will offer what information they know. We can ask questions and we can offer some additional information. So they begin to learn and be very, very interested in nature. in the classroom, they will become interested in other things that they observe, particularly things that might happen in practical life. Recently in the classroom, the children were doing work with a pipette, and they noticed that the top of the water in the glass kept rising, and one child became very excited, and so it became a study of surface tension. And this is how science begins in the young child's classroom. Every classroom has a small library of both fiction and non-fiction material. So when a child becomes very interested in something, we are able to provide a book to sit with them and take a look at it. The older children especially like to take a book. For example, someone who's very, very interested in spiders. They get a book on spiders, they take a look at it, we come read a little, we share information, they draw pictures of things that were interesting, and then, depending upon their writing ability, maybe they can dictate words to us and copy it from a wipe-off board. Maybe they can write their own labels. Maybe they can write entire sentences. I've had older children later in the year create entire books about mammals or spiders, and this is how they can also practice their writing. While we are discussing the children's interest, we are helping them to notice differences and similarities, to classify things, and put their information into different categories so they can make sense of what they are looking at. I am going to show you some of the materials that support that learning. We begin by talking about the differences between living and non-living. We may bring things in from the outside, rocks, pieces of car parts, shells, plants, animals, and take a look at how do we know if something is living or non-living. And then we will take a look at cards. Things that are living are sorted from things that are not living. The fun question we always ask the children is, does a lamp have babies? Can a lamp move by itself? Does a lamp drink water? Can a lamp eat? Then a lamp is not living. And they sort them according to living and non-living. We also take a look at what makes a plant versus what makes an animal, and the difference between them. Then we will move on to a classification of vertebrae and invertebrate. Some animals have bones, some animals do not. To accompany this, they may look at books that actually look at the skeletal systems of different animals. They may draw them, and they take a look at both differences. Then we talk about the classification of vertebrae. We have fish, reptile, mammal, bird, and amphibian. And what we're also doing is, what makes a fish a fish? How would you recognize an animal as a fish? How would you recognize them as a mammal? And they will slowly work with this. Often, once they have learned about one different type of vertebrae, they may present these things to the class. They will stand up and share their information and then ask their classmates, do you have any questions? And they will answer them. Part of science is learning the vocabulary for things. This is an example of nomenclature cards that we will also see in the language section. These are parts of a tree. So the child uses the control at the top. They match the picture with no word, and then they match the picture. Later on, they may take the controls away and only match the picture with the word. It is also a vocabulary lesson. Do you know that this part of the tree is the trunk? These are the branches, these are the roots. We may go and pull a plant out of the ground and show them what roots do. We may grow a plant in water so they can actually see the roots. When we go to the park, we will hug the tree and feel the trunk. These two are examples of extra extensions that children can do. We have many different puzzles. These are parts of the tree puzzle. They do it as a puzzle, but the children like to take the pieces, put them back together on paper, trace them, and then paint them, and also label them with their knowledge of the labels. This is an art project where you can put this together as felt, but then you can take paper and cut your own tree and decorate it. So there are different ways to absorb the vocabulary of what you're learning. Another example of science nomenclature cards are parts of the cow. Again, we have 3 different parts. They are matched. When they are done, there are paper extensions. If a child would like to color the different parts, they can create a book in order to take home. We are learning vocabulary. They think it's a lot of fun to learn that where we get the milk from is called the udder. And did you know that the tip of a cow's tail is called the switch? One of the things the children really enjoy is taking a look at life cycles. Interestingly enough, a child the other day told me, when I get bigger, I'm going to be a dinosaur. So we have lots of work to do. This is an example of the life cycle of the butterfly. We have things like the seed, and we will actually germinate seeds as well in the classroom, the life cycle of the frog, or a life cycle of different plants. And so they can take a look at this. We tell them the story and hope that they can retell the story. And if they want, they can make a book of it with the right sequence. There are several examples of activities that are always in all of the classrooms to give the children an introduction, and then after that, they can elaborate on it. This is an example of sink and float. The bowl is filled with water. There are objects here. One object at a time is laid in the water, and we talk about whether it stays on top of the water, float, or goes to the bottom and sink. Extensions of this, however, is, can you make an object that will stay on the bottom of the bowl after it has already been floating? Can you use aluminum foil and make a boat? And how much can you put in the boat before it will sink? So this is an introduction, and then children can take it from there. Another introductory activity, which is very popular, is magnet. A simple magnet is used. There are objects placed in a basket, and a child will check to see whether they are attracted to the magnet or not. This is the basic one. Then they will take other magnets and try to see whether something can attract an object under a table, under a rug. What else can you do? How far away can you hold a magnet and still attract an object? How many paper clips can you put on a magnet? This is an example of a second thing to take a look at polarity. If you turn this, it goes together. So there are different activities on the shelf that spark their imagination. A study of the human body is very, very interesting to the children at this age. So, as an introduction, we have a work in terms of a puzzle which can be put together to show the skeletal system of the human body. We will count the number of bones in the foot and the hand. We will talk about the names. Did you know your knee is called your patella? Your bones in your hands are your phalanges. So we will name things, and the children can go as far as they need to. Then we also have work where they learn the different systems of the body. For example, the respiratory system, we take a look at the heart, the lungs. The digestive system is very popular. They love the kidneys and the bladder and the intestines. We will take a look at a body form and name the parts. This is your neck, your elbow, your shoulder, your wrist, and they will keep going with that.